Hey everyone, Chef Albert here. Today I want to show the students how to do a couple knife skills. So we're going to use some cucumber, some baby heirloom tomatoes, a couple different herbs. We're going to make a tomato and cucumber salad. It's a Persian salad. I'm going to add some shrimp to mine as well that I just cooked right here. I just cooked it in a little bit of butter. Now I'm letting them chill. It's going to be a chilled salad. So let's get started. First off, to cut tomatoes, I like to use a serrated knife. Okay, you can use a bread knife. This is my little serrated knife. It just cuts through the tomatoes through the skin so easily. These are pretty big tomatoes, so I'm going to cut those into thirds. Okay, and then remember, whenever you have some product, okay, whenever you cut it, whenever you prep it, you're going to go out of one container into the next, so that it's just not sitting on your cutting board. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to cut these nice and properly, and then we'll move on. Okay, so I've cleaned all my tomatoes. I have them rinsed here in the colander, just with a towel underneath it, so the water's not dripping all over the counter. I'm just going to cut these right in half. All right, I like to use a serrated knife because the serrated knife cuts through the tomato skin easily. This is a bigger tomato, even though it's a baby tomato, so I'm going to cut that into thirds. The idea is just to grab the tomato on both sides, using your serrated knife, cut right down the middle. Okay? You wouldn't want to use like a steak knife, okay? Because it just doesn't have the same. You see that? You see how if this isn't really sharp, you see how when I start cutting it starts pushing the tomato out? That's what we don't want. All right, we want to use sharp knives all the time. The thing about a serrated knife is that once it gets dull, you can't sharpen it, right? Because this has teeth. All right, so there's a couple different ways you can cut these tomatoes. One is lengthwise, like this, all right? Or another is just right down the middle. It kind of just depends on how you want to cut them. All right, I'm just gonna kind of do this randomly. So this one I went down the middle. Maybe this one, I'll cut like that. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and finish all these. I'm gonna put them back into the colander, sprinkle some salt on them and let them sit for about 20 minutes, just so that some of that tomato juice runs off and it's not so watery. All right, so we'll be back. Okay, I've already cut this cucumber in half. What I'm gonna do is just cut it down the middle lengthwise. Okay, and you see there's some seeds in there. Now this is up to you. You can leave the seeds in, but I like to get a knife and just scrape it out, just because I don't want my salad to be too watery. Just scrape it out. I'm gonna do that to both sides of the cucumber. And just let me show you how to chop these real quick. Just using your claw. Remember, use your middle finger as the guide. Okay, just like that. All right, those go into our bowl. Right when they're finished, put them into your bowl and you're good to go. Okay, so I just washed these green onions. Green onions are also called scallions. What you want to do is just take the end of the green onion off. That's the root end. Okay, now for this recipe it says let's cut them on a diagonal. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Instead of chopping this way, we're going to cut that way. Why? Because it gives a cool shape to that green onion. You see how it gives it that shape instead of just cutting straight down and making it round? This is a kind of a nicer shape, diagonal shape. Remember, grab the back of the knife right here. You don't want to use grab the knife like that. You want your pointer and your thumb back here. Okay. Use your claw always, right, with the knife against your middle finger. And I'm going to do this rolling motion. Just like that. Pretty simple. They want me to separate the whites, and then that's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna put the whites separate because we're gonna add those later. Okay, we're gonna massage some of the green onions with a little bit of salt, just to help bring out the flavor a little bit. By massaging it, it does help bring out some of the natural oils, some of the natural flavors, and of course adding salt also adds flavor, right? All right, I'm gonna show you how to do some cilantro. The stems on cilantro are softer than they are with parsley, so you can include some of the stems. But what I like to do is just grab the cilantro, bunch it up, kind of fold it underneath itself, and make it nice and compact. Same way as I cut the green onions, I'm gonna do this rolling motion. Okay, so we have that's probably about 1/3 of a cup right there. Start with your fingers on the tip of the knife, up and down, back and forth. Up and down, back and forth. Okay, use your bench scraper. Put it into your measuring cup. I know this recipe was calling for a 1/4 cup, but I like a little more cilantro. So I'm gonna do a little more. Put it right into our bowl. Okay? Just like that. Okay, let's do some mint. There's a couple different ways I'm gonna show you how to do mint. The first is called a chiffonade, where you just get about five of the big leaves here. 5 or 6. You stack them on top of each other, and then you roll them up like this. Okay? Get your chef's knife and do that rolling chop. The same rolling chop we've been doing. With the back of the knife. Okay, then you get this nice, these nice little shreds called chiffonade. So that's one way, okay, the chiffonade. Another way is just to stack them up again, and just with some kitchen scissors, look, this doesn't have to be as precise, you just cut them. It can be bigger sizes, smaller sizes, doesn't really matter. Okay, we don't have to be too precise with this. With the chiffonade, you can see that they're all about the same size, right? These are rough, right? It's a rough cut. You don't have to be that precise. Sometimes your knife can be kind of dull, and when that happens, we end up smashing the herbs instead of cutting them, and they get all like wilted and brown and damaged, right? You can see that the herbs are still nice and fluffy here. That's exactly what we're looking for, right? So 2 different cuts, chiffonade and just a scissor cut, a rough scissor cut. Go ahead and give those a try. All right, so we've switched utensils now. We're using the microplane or a zester, and I'm gonna get just the green peel. Okay, that's called the zest, just the green peel off the limes, just by doing that. Okay, don't get all the white part, because the white part starts getting bitter, and the green part, the peel, is actually just has the flavor. Oh, look at that, I caught it. Just has the flavor of the lime without having the sour or bitter taste to it. So for this recipe, it is, I think it's a 1/2 teaspoon. Oh no, 1 teaspoon. So I know that's not 1 teaspoon. So, okay, you can see how it takes it right off. And then after I do this, I'm gonna use garlic on here as well. That's another trick. Instead of mincing it, you can use, mincing it with your knife, you can use a zester to get that garlic right off. And I can see that that's about 1 teaspoon right there. Okay, I'm done with my limes. I'm done with the zest. I'm done with the lime juice. Now I'm moving on to the garlic. Okay, look, same thing here. You just use the garlic and you run it right down this microplane. And look at it, basically minces it for you. Okay, a little bit of this at the end here. You don't want too much garlic in here, but I'm just gonna chop that little last piece right there that I couldn't zest up. And now, let's put all of that right into our herbs. So I've got all of our fresh herbs here. Look at that. We got the cilantro, green onion, what else? Mint, lime juice, lime zest, salt. That's been sitting there marinating. Or the longer the garlic sits in there as well, the more mellow it becomes because of the acid in the acid from the lime juice, right? At this point, we're basically done. The tomatoes have been sitting for a while. Okay, the tomatoes and the cucumber have been sitting in the salt, just kind of drawing out that moisture. So I'm gonna mix them into here and then plate it up and add my shrimp. Okay, the tomatoes and the cucumbers have been soaking. You can see some of the moisture starting to leak out the colander. We'll put them right in here, right into our mixture. Maybe start with half. And mix that in, right? Because all that stuff's on the bottom. We want it to mix really well. I'm also gonna probably drizzle in a little bit of olive oil. The olive oil just gives it another little flavor, like, and a little bit of fat, right? Because olive oil is just fat. You can see that this stuff's starting to drip, so I'm just gonna clean that up. Always clean as you go, so you don't have a big mess at the end. Just stir all that together. Stir it all together. All right, our salad's all mixed up. Let's plate it. Look at that, right in the middle, right there. Boom. Get some of these shrimp. Look at that. Look how beautiful that looks. I'm gonna put a couple garnishes on there. Cilantro garnish. And there you have it. It's finished. Right as my wife gets home. So there's the finished salad. Looks beautiful. It's got a lot of good flavors. Nice and fresh.